Good afternoon, all. How are we all doing? Afternoon, Fano. Buenos dias. Thank you for the update on the time in Bogota at GMT -5. Hola, Le. Buenos dias from Bogota in Colombia. I presume that's what that is. Acol. How's everybody doing? All good? Anybody do anything exciting this morning? Market certainly hasn't done anything exciting this morning, has it? As you can see from the London range there, we are pretty much the same as the Asian range. Well, we're back within the Asian range, and our range in London is pretty much what the Asian range was. We were waiting for the news, and news hasn't really done an awful lot today. So, yeah. We had CPI for the CAD and for the US dollar. I'll just refresh that. So all positive, all round. Everybody's happy. Consumer price index up. Everything's being inflated. Everything's getting more expensive. Wages aren't going up. Anyway, yeah. So retail sales are up. CPI positive for the CAD. Yeah. That's the news, basically. We got crude at 3:30, and then the evil FOMC at 7. All good, depending on how you look at it. Afternoon, Gary, Mark, Trevor. Got out of your long on EU, did you? Probably a good idea. You want to be short on EU. So, yeah. But yeah, you can see the spike here, obviously, with the US dollar. So we just got wicked out by the news. No directional bias yet. They're probably waiting for the market open in half an hour to see what happens with that one. So nothing particularly exciting there. Afternoon, Chris. Thanks for the news update. Almost forgot. Yeah, check that every day. First thing you do in the morning is you open up Forex Factory and you go, right, what time are we moving today? And that will tell you, basically. Or are we moving today in a lot of cases? So you'll find, obviously, today, FOMC, we do get an awful lot of accumulation on FOMC day. So the market tends to basically just go into a holding pattern and accumulate orders ready for FOMC, and then they'll move it there. So we'll see what happens. But 7 o'clock is the big one. We've also got unemployment change tomorrow morning for the Aussie, so you need to be aware of that for tomorrow morning. And obviously crude again for CAD a bit later on. So not a lot of movement there. Hi, David. Nothing on RSI. Sorry, that's not RSI. That's RSI. ADR even. Sorry, I've got a bit of a headache at the moment and a temperature, which is a bit worrying, and a little bit of a sore throat. I'm just feeling a bit bleh at the moment. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm hoping that's all it is, but hopefully it's not the dreaded Rona. No ADR hits today at all. Flat as a pancake. The only hit we had on the weekly was Euro Swiss, which I looked at this morning, and I said to short it, and it's gone down. Not a lot, but it has. So we were looking at it this morning, weren't we? When we got up here, and I said this area is where we should see the sellers start to come in, which they have. So if you took that one this morning, well done. M5 entry, you are 31 pips to the good at the moment, half an ADR up. Monthlies, obviously, we got the other euros, which we looked at on Monday. So Euro Swiss played out very nicely this morning. Obviously, all the euros, you just want to be short in the euro all the time anyway. So nothing much else has happened on the euro. Euro US dollar is starting to roll over. Again, they've come straight back up into this sell zone here. So sellers seem to be stepping in on top of them at the minute. But we haven't had much move on the US dollar. So we'll see. Thanks, Ahmed. I hope I get well soon. I haven't got ill yet. You know that feeling when you're about to get a cold or a flu or something. You just that you get that day where you just think, yeah, something's not right. Don't feel right. I've got that day at the moment. I've got a bit of a toothache as well. It's all going wrong. All we need now is Russia to invade, and that'll sort me out. I can just lie in bed and watch the war happening for the next couple of days. Something to do. So nothing there. I banked a little bit more this morning. I didn't do much. I just scalped a little bit of DAX this morning, so I'm up 6%. RSIs, nothing. Again, nothing's happening on RSI. It's flat as a pancake. Everything's kind of sitting within the sort of 40 to 55 range for most stuff. We've got CAD Swiss is approaching. It's approached. It's already gone. Missed it. It didn't get there. CAD Swiss stepped straight into that area and is rejecting. Obviously, that's on CAD news. So we didn't quite get extended on the CAD Swiss. The CAD Yen will be flipping as well because of the CAD news. Pound CAD is getting close. So missed as well. Didn't quite get there. Straight off. It's nothing else. It's dead, isn't it? Dead. I might as well have left the EA on. It's not getting any opportunities to trade anyway. So, yes, man flu. This is definitely man flu, and you will hear about it if I get man flu in the Telegram group. I shall be posting memes about snivelling and illness. But yeah, there's no opportunities at the moment at all. So that's not even a stop hunt. So I'll have a quick whiz through all the pairs and have a look where we are, and see if we can find some opportunities to trade. I've had a good day so far on my futures account. I've banked 1,100 quid this morning, which is nice. It's always the day, isn't it? The day that I decide, actually, I'm not going to trade my Apex account. I'm going to go for a new account with Elite. I have one of those. Very annoying. But on the positive side, I've got a 9K target, and I'm now $1,200 or $1,300 into target. So, happy with that. We'll trade a bit more futures this afternoon. I took the day off yesterday. I'm ill as a dog. Oh dear, Chris. Still today, not much energy, but going to get a bit better at least. It's always the way. That's the nice thing about trading. You can actually trade while you're ill. Just make sure you go up to higher time frames because your reaction speeds are going to be very slow. Everything happens in slow motion when you're ill, doesn't it? Right, so let's get on with some analysis. We'll whiz through the indices first. Actually, let's start with the crypto because I haven't looked at crypto for a couple of days. We are starting to roll over on crypto. Bitcoin's rolling over. Still holding this 72. So we've had a couple of 72 bounces. We are holding that at the moment. So we do not want to go higher at the moment on crypto. Obviously, the indices is the same story. It's starting to roll over again at the moment. The US 500 is coming down as well. So is the NAS. So we are holding this market structure that I was expecting to come in. Yeah. So continuation push down. So this is basically second leg starting, looking for these lows to be taken out. So looking for 13,600 initially on the NAS, and S&P looking for somewhere around 4,200 level. So all starting to roll over pretty nicely. We've had a lovely rejection this morning. I'm going to be looking for shorts this afternoon. Might be a bit late on it, to be honest. Because that news obviously has just pushed the indices straight back down again. So don't really want to chase it, but we'll have a look at what happens in the open. We've got 20 minutes to the open, so we'll have a look at it when we get there. Right, so FX. Gold. Good buy zone for the gold as well if you're a gold trader. Nice rejection there. Looking to break new highs. Right, so Aussie CAD. Starting at the top with the Aussies. So Aussies are shorts. So we're looking for short opportunities. The RSIs are not worth talking about RSIs. So basically, I'm going to talk about trend direction at the moment because nothing is extended on the RSIs, as we know. We've looked at the dashboards, and for 2 days, we've not had an opportunity. So basically, trend continuations is what we're looking for at the moment. So we are in a downtrend Aussie CAD. Pushed up, and we've put in a new lower high. So potentially we're looking to break that 9,500 level and looking for short opportunities there. Aussie dollar Swiss, afternoon Rahat. Same thing, lovely tweezers on the 4 hour, rejecting at the 72. Again, we pushed up, new market structure is forming to the downside. So it looks good for shorts. Aussie dollar yen. Same thing. All these Aussies, short on all the Aussies, especially against the yen at the moment. If we do get anything happening with Putin, obviously the yen's going to power up, which will push the Aussie down. So everything against the yen, I'm a short at the minute. Aussie dollar New Zealand. This, to me, at the moment, is stuck in a horrible grind. I've got the Signal account running with the EA on an H1M5 short at the moment. I've just taken an aggressive position up here and starting to do some drawdown control, aggressive drawdown control, which is starting to play out so far this morning, which is nice. But I'm looking basically to take off a couple of aggressive positions when we get down to here and then start scaling out on this one. So it's just not coming down at all at the moment, this one. We are expecting New Zealand dollar strength to start coming through. New Zealand dollar has flipped long on the COT report, so we should see some strength starting to come through on it. It's just whether or not the Aussie is going to let up and give the New Zealand dollar a chance to actually power up. At the moment, it's not. So we'll see what happens over the next week with this one. We've got Aussie dollar news tomorrow. So catalyst for this one is tomorrow morning. With the unemployment figures. So hopefully we'll get negative figures off of the Aussie tomorrow and they will take some weakness on board. And that should give the New Zealand dollar a chance to give it a bit of a push. So we could see a couple of good, strong moves down like that from the New Zealand dollar. But we haven't got any extensions on this thing for ages. And it's been very, very orderly, but the pullbacks are just not very deep. So a very difficult one to trade at the moment. It's a difficult one to trade long as well because the ADR is really tiny on it. So it's just choppy price action. It's just a horrible thing to trade at the minute. But I think long term on this one, we will see this start to roll over. We're just waiting, basically. And it's taking forever. Nice Batman there. Nice chart pattern. Yeah, Batman is a multi-day M, which is exactly that pattern. It's a Batman. It's like Batman's helmet. Yeah. So it's 2 peaks, normally forming a double top as a short. Just spotted that one. Really easy to see on the RSI. Aussie dollar, US dollar, looking for shorts, looking for the US dollar to power up, just starting to power up. So this is a really good short to take now, assuming we are getting some power, he says, as the US dollar sits there quietly doing nothing. But yeah, Aussie dollar shorts against the US dollar as well. So the CADs, we've just had really nice wick rejection on the CAD. This one's sideways, CAD Swiss, totally sideways at the moment. Moving averages are flat, no opportunity whatsoever on that. Range bound, so the opportunities are, as we get to the lows, hit the button. As we get to the highs, hit the button the other way. So just range bound at the minute. CAD yen, that is actually a pattern, chart pattern, the Batman. Look it up. It's not one you see very often, but there's a chart pattern called half a Batman, basically. Where you get basically a spike, a pullback, and then a rounding. Yeah. So when you see a half a Batman forming, pending order under the first cowl. You take an entry there. It is a pattern. It's not a very popular one. They don't appear very often, but they're actually pretty reliable when you see them. CAD yen, so CAD yen, again, another one of these difficult ones. I'm kind of short because of the yen, and I think the yen's going to power up. But as you can see with this one, it's just a choppy mess. Moving averages are very close together and sideways. There's no real directional bias on it. So I'd be inclined really to long the highs, as in there. But again, we're not getting signals at the minute because the market's just not really interested in moving anywhere because of all the unease everywhere at the minute. CAD Swiss, very similar story. Swiss franc, I'm always wanting to long the Swiss franc. So anything against the Swissy, like the CAD Swiss, I'd always be more short bias because when the Swiss powers up, it really goes for it. And we get these big, strong moves from the Swissy. So this one is kind of a little bit neutral at the moment, but I'd be more inclined to look for longs than shorts. Again, we haven't had any opportunities on RSI at the moment. But if you do want to trade it, lower time frames, look for long opportunities when you get extended to the downside. Would be my preferred on that one. All the euros are shorts. Euros we have had opportunities on because we had that stupid move on the euro. We've faded all of those moves. They all played out. Short opportunities on the euro. Every time you see it spiking and coming into any kind of sell area, short. If it retests a reversal alert, short. Short it. Just keep shorting it until the eurozone actually pulls its finger out and does anything. Shorting the euro. Euro pound, lovely short. We had a nice 72 bounce up here. It's pushed up. M pattern drop. Now we're accumulating at the 24, putting a nice M pattern reversal in. Shorts. So all short opportunities on the euros. Euro yen as well. I'm more inclined to short the euro yen now. This is the only one that's really stood up well on the euros, and the New Zealand dollar. Euro New Zealand stood up pretty well as well. But now I'm seeing the US dollar powering up. I'm much more inclined to short this one, expecting some yen strength to come through as well. So shorts on that one again, pushed up, retested, short, nice opportunity short. On lower time frame, you'd have had that up here somewhere. Euro New Zealand. Again, this is the one, obviously, that the euro is sticking with at the moment. New Zealand dollar is starting to power up. We saw that move starting to kick in. We're just still accumulating at the moment. Still no strength coming through on the New Zealand. We're seeing this is the same basically as the Aussie New Zealand. Just waiting for some strength to come through on the New Zealand dollar. As soon as it does, this will push down. Just got to be a bit careful with this one because the New Zealand dollar doesn't seem to strengthen and hold very much. So I'd probably be a little bit inclined to get out when we get down there. But yeah, looking for short opportunities on it. But at the moment, it's just not going anywhere. So shorts on that and shorts on Euro US just starting to roll over now. Lovely rejection at the 72. So we pushed up above, put in an M. Reversal, triple top, had the reversal alert, we're retesting, next leg down. Pounds. So pound is very hit and miss at the minute. More long than short, obviously, on the pound because we've got a cop bias long on the pound and short on the Aussie. So we're looking for opportunities long. We had one last week, which played out very, very nicely. So just looking for bounces really. At the moment we're back down to the 24, so assuming this is the new peak formation low down here, pushed up, pulled back, this is your higher low, looking for a higher high. So this is a really nice opportunity here for a long. We've just got tweezer bottoms put in, nice rejection, and this is also a nice 50% pullback on the move. Yeah, so perfect area for putting in the next leg higher. And obviously in line with trend as well. Pound CAD, same thing. Be looking for long opportunities on this one. We just touched and rejected the 24. So again, looking for longs here. But as you can see, for 2 weeks, we haven't gone anywhere. So there's a lot of stuff just doing this at the minute. There's a lot of uncertainty everywhere. So pound Swiss, same sort of thing. Sideways, this one I'd be more inclined. Actually, you can really trade this one either direction. Whenever you're seeing flat moving averages, just means obviously there's no directional bias on it. So you can kind of take it short up here and then take it long down there on lower time frames. But overall, the bias on this one is the pound long. Obviously, the Swiss franc will do whatever it wants when it wants to, when money's being piled through the Swiss. So you'll find this one will move up and down quite nicely, as you can see. So you get nice spikes, and then you get pullbacks, and then big spikes, and then pullbacks. So it's quite nice and orderly to trade at the moment. But no real directional bias on it as such. So not great for opportunities either. Pound yen, difficult. I'm long pound. I'm also slightly long yen at the moment, but I've not really got a cop bias on it long. So I would have to say at the moment, looking for long opportunities. But again, I want to see some extensions. I want to see some movement. We're not getting any movement. But overall, I'll be looking for long opportunities. From a trend perspective, we are long. But it's very, very weak. We've just come off of this high and rejected. So technically we could be putting in new market structure, but we didn't manage to break this low here. So at the moment, we've kind of not really got any directional bias. We're accumulating and contracting into a symmetrical triangle. That could break either direction. So again, really difficult to tell which way that one's going. Pound New Zealand at the moment is a long bias against a long bias now. I'm always going to be more long pound than New Zealand. The pound will always be stronger of the two currencies when it does power up. So looking for longs on that one. Pound US dollar short. But we are now long bias against a long bias on the COT report. Hence, we are going into an accumulation. Again, sideways, flat, no directional bias. The US dollar will be stronger than the pound when it powers up, but every push we're getting on the US at the moment is being countered. So, yeah, guess is as good as mine on that one. I'd be looking for short opportunities at the highs, and obviously this is a very nice base we've got down here for taking longs. So trade it in either direction, but you're not going to get any signals on the 4 hour. Hourly, haven't had a signal on the hourly since week before last, which was that. And as you can see, it's just been sideways and been moved by the news. Yeah, this is why the news is so important. Yeah, news is what moves it. We'll get some more movement later on this evening on FOMC as well. New Zealand's all kind of looking for longs, although technically we are short, but this is because we've had a negative COT bias for ages. We have flipped long now, and as you can see, the market has decided it wants to put a little bit of strength in, but it's not very convincing at all. So I'm undecided on this. You can probably trade it in either direction. Again, would look for RSI extensions. At the moment, though, the overall bias is short. So nothing really good opportunity-wise there. New Zealand Swiss is the same thing. We're just seeing this slight powering up on the New Zealand dollar. So we've got a low, high, low, high, low, trying to make a high, but being held down by the 24. Yeah, we know how good 24 bounces are. So difficult to tell with these at the minute. They look more bearish at the moment to me than bullish. So I'm undecided on the New Zealand dollar. But like always, I'm waiting for something to get extended. And then I'm going to get into opportunities when I get extended. So New Zealand dollar yen would be more of a short than a long, purely based off the fact that I'm expecting some yen strength to come through. New Zealand dollar strength isn't going to be as strong as the yen when it does happen, so be looking for shorts on that one. And New Zealand dollar, US dollar, although this is a long against a long now from a COT perspective, US dollar is always going to trump New Zealand. Excuse the pun. All US dollars long. Bullish across the board on the US dollar. So looking for long opportunities. Again, you want to be on small time frames. Yeah, looking for longs down here. Just had a reversal of that there. Lovely wick. Liquidity taken. Yeah, so they've basically just reached down here and taken liquidity from everybody that's entered a position long all week. All gone. They might use FOMC to come down later as well. We'll have a look at where they might go with FOMC in a minute. Actually, I've done them all now, haven't I? So, 4 minutes to the open. What wild number of gappers this morning? Hope you choose the colour of your new Lambo. We don't trade gappers in here because we don't trade stocks. Chris Van Wyck, you said the Dixie possible up. What is the cause? Is that because of good news for the US dollar overall? Well, the US dollar's just biased long anyway. So, we're long on the Dixie. Yeah, I mean it's going up. So we've made a new high. Yeah, we've pulled back down off of CPI. So basically, we've got this low, which is where I said we were going to bounce. We've bounced. Then I said we were going to get stuck in this accumulation and break out the top, which we've done, which is what I was expecting to happen. I wasn't expecting the CPI to be quite as deep a pullback as this, but market structure is long still. Yeah, we're coming off the 24.72. Yeah, so it's bullish. The COT report is bullish. The open interest on the commitment of traders is bullish. When my website decides to load, must get a better server. So COT bias is long. Yeah. So, we've been long for a while on the US dollar. So, yeah, and we've had good news today. Good retail numbers. So, yeah, all long. All bullish. And the fact that the indices are coming down. Yeah, indices come down, US dollar goes up typically. So, indices are on their knees at the moment. So, I would expect more bullish price action for the US dollar. But at the moment, we're in a nice pullback and we're pulling back to this accumulation break, which is exactly where I would expect to find buyers for the next leg up. And we've got FOMC. So FOMC today, we've got 2 minutes to the open. FOMC today, liquidity-wise, obviously this is CPI, which we put this weird old whipsaw move in. So basically they took every single order from every trader that had entered in any direction that week. They took the whipsawed the whole lot, took it long. We've pulled back. So everybody that has now entered long on the pullback, all of their liquidity is here. So FOMC today, potentially we could see 100% ADR move and run. Pretty much the opposite of what we saw in CPI. So it depends what their positioning is and whether they're ready to go. If they're ready to go from here, they'll go from here. If they're not ready to go from here, they'll probably hunt liquidity, and liquidity is all sitting there. Back in this accumulation. So that's potentially what we're going to see on FOMC later. If we see anything, FOMC sometimes doesn't move the market. So we'll see. No, what's the... Yeah, right, okay. That's all covered. Everything's covered. Open. Let me just move my chat window over a bit, because it's covering my entry. I've got an order entry ticket basically, which sits over here, so I can get in, and it's right on top of my chat window. So market's open. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trade today micro ES. So I'm going to monitor the NAS over here today. And the Dow. So I've decided to trade the ES today, basically, because I've banked 1500 and I want to trade a slower instrument. That's literally the only reason. Because I don't want to overtrade today. Got too much in the bank already. So daily on the NAS. Obviously, Doomsday is playing out at the moment, but we did get that 3-bar reversal yesterday. But that 3-bar reversal is not at the bottom of the range. So for me, that isn't necessarily a reversal pattern. That is a pullback on a continuation drop. So I'm looking for shorts today. Dow, similar sort of structure playing out. We got an M pattern reversal. So again, market structure to the downside. Option is potentially a pullback long. We don't know yet. We're in a very critical point here. We're going long, short out the gates on the NAS. Might try one short. Oh, blimey. Zoop. Yeah, shorts, obviously, S&P. We put in an M pattern, double top. And again, pull back on this move, potentially for a short. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating today. So we'll see basically what happens. But for me, we've had a very good move already today, obviously, to the upside, and that has all been reversed off the back of the news. So remember I was saying I was looking for a wick test here. We've done it. So we basically pulled up, tested that wick, rejected, and now we are potentially looking for a short. So on the NAS as well, let me zoom in. We've done the same thing on the NAS. Yeah. So this is the wick test I was looking for yesterday. We didn't quite get it, remember? We've done the wick test today, and again, starting short. So looking for a bearish engulfing today. That would be perfect. And that would confirm the move down as well. So we'll see. We'll see where we go at the open. But again, just going to play the 15-minute opening range and see where we go. We're going to keep it quite tight today. Oops. What's everybody's thoughts? Where are we going today, S&P wise, indices? Obviously, we've had the positive news on the US dollar, which hasn't really had the impact on the US dollar. I was expecting a little bit more of a movement on it, and it's coming down out the gates as well. So I kind of. It's kind of counter to what I was expecting to happen, which is obviously what would drive the indices down. The US dollar coming down would drive the indices up. We have also had, haven't looked at the news, have I yet? This is the last candle for the opening range. Earnings-wise, yesterday we had Airbnb, Roblox, and Upstart. These are all pushing today. So Roblox is pushing hard. Airbnb was pushing hard. And we've also had pre-market from these three. Shopify, again, pushing hard. So there is bullish movement going on. We've got Cisco and NVIDIA after market today. These are going to be big players, obviously. It's all big players from NASDAQ point of view. So tomorrow we should see some fairly decent movement as well. But at the moment, we've just had the push higher. So I'm looking for, just going one more short, looking for push up basically into an area of potential sellers, or literally out the gates today with shorts, because we've already done a decent move up today, which has been corrected already. So that's kind of what I'm looking for from a daily perspective. So we've had the push, we've had the wick test, we've found the short players, and they have started to move. So that's my thoughts at the minute, but we'll see. So we've got nice support resistance on Renko there from the S&P. Go down to a much smaller size on Renko, obviously, because the S&P's movement is much smaller than the NAS. NAS is coming down very nice and hard out of the gates as well. Dow is pushing, so we've got divergence. We've got Nas down, Dow up. So divergence at the moment across the indices. S&P still coming down. DAX is having a little push out the gates as well. It's looking quite heavy on the Dow though. We've run into the this accumulation, this sell move. We've run into the sellers here, which seem to be holding up at the minute. It's a decent price action this morning. Actually got some volume coming through for a change. Didn't have any volume at the open yesterday, did we? It was awful. $30,000, decent. Not much directional bias as yet though. Industrial production was positive for the US dollar as well. That came out at 215. So again, more positive news for the US dollar. Therefore, obviously, the US dollar is coming down because that makes total sense. This is why you don't pay any attention to what the news actually is. Just when the news is coming out, regardless of what it is, they will move the market where they want to move the market. Doesn't matter what the figures are. So looking for this 5-minute open to get broken to the downside and then 4,400 target. Now it's still coming down very nicely. Very whipsawy at the moment. Still sitting within the 5-minute range. So just like literally massive accumulation at the minute. As soon as we do get a break, we should hopefully get a move. Dow is still getting trodden on at the moment. Says the Nas. Decent volumes at the open today as well. Short one more. So good rejection wicks to the upside. We've just got bearish engulfing as well. Just looking like we're going to tick down. There we go. So 5-minute opening range is the next target. This is a new 5-minute candle that's just started, so obviously we haven't broken that range yet. Oh, blimey. Pound US dollar is absolutely skyrocketing. So is euro US dollar, Aussie US dollar. US dollar yen's coming down hard. New Zealand US going up. Gold is spiking as well. Lots and lots of movement off of the US dollar at the moment. So obviously everything is being driven by this this weakness on the US dollar. But quite a few of those, like the pound US dollar, is just taking liquidity potentially from the London session. New Zealand US is also looking like it's about to stop hunt London highs. So we'll see if we get this anywhere around here, some kind of movement back up. Okay, last 1 minute candle. See if we can get this break and hold below. The 5-minute open. And hopefully should be going down to 44.20. 4400 is the next target. We need to get down and hold this area if we've got any chance of pushing down today. Just about got it. Not very convincing, is it? But okay. So let's see if we can start a move down from here. So we've got a nice, decent bearish open. So a good push up. It's been completely reversed in the first 15 minutes. Haven't managed to break this low yet, though, really. I don't call that a break. So this could well just all come straight back up into this area. See what happens in the next 5. Dow's testing new highs of the session. Want to see good absorption here. So this candle, I want to see this just flicking up and down, up and down, up and down, and keeping a decent wick on it, which means basically every single buyer is just being sold into, just basically selling into this area, defending this initial down move. If we break up above there, leaves it open for a retest of those highs, which looks like it's going through at the moment. So I'm just watching this level. 44.52 is where I'm going to get out. Highly likely we're just going to sit and accumulate like we did yesterday. Sitting sideways. Two minutes left. Good absorption from the sellers. Some bullish price action coming through now on the dollar. DAX is being trodden down as well. Really nice structure on the DAX today. Really nice market structure. Still can't break these lows though. Still stuck. My analysis is top notch. Thank you, Fred. Doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it does. Still got good volume coming through as well. We've still got 20,000 contracts coming through on the NAS, so still a lot of players in the market. Just got one more short, just coming down 4,400. As soon as that breaks, we'll get that pop out the bottom. And if we get that pop, we should be off. That wasn't a pop. That was a triple bottom. Come on. Naz has just done a Barrett. There we go. There we go. There's a pop. So that's what I mean by pop. Yeah. You get that absorption. The buyer's absorption just gets taken away and the sellers just slam straight through. Okay. Closing one. Dow still hasn't managed to make new lows yet. Okay, 44.35 is the next level we need to close below. Just covering the position just in case. Big order came in from the buyers there at 44.30. Closing one more. I'll let these two run. So if we do get a pullback, looking for a pullback to around the 4400, 4440 level rather. If it does want to pull back and then continue to the downside. 44.10, I'll take one off down there as well. See if we can get down there. That'd be a nice $1,500 day if we can get down there. Let's have a quick look what everything else is up to. So US dollar's pushing. DAX is trying to make the same. Basically, the DAX and the Dow move virtually the same. So the DAX and the Dow both attempting lows roughly at the same time. DAX, the Dow's got through, hasn't closed below yet, but it has pierced it. Pound US dollar will be starting to turn. Nice reversal alert on the Euro US dollar M15. So we've got that accumulation and break. Support resistance held twice. We've broken through it. Sellers have stepped back in and pushed back down below. So that should come down now. Probably to the lows. We should see some US dollar strength coming through now this afternoon. Now we've had that push down, hopefully. Still nothing's hit ADR. Still nothing lit up on the RSIs. So we've got big gap formed now at the moment on the Dow. So potentially we could see a retest up into there. Looks like it's going straight down though, which is nice. Rahat, can use volume with reversal alert as confluence. You can't use volume in Forex, so you can't use volume indicators in here, because there is no volume in Forex as such. So when you get volume, in Forex, this all you're seeing here is your broker. Yeah. So with futures, the volume you see here is from the exchange. So futures is a centralized exchange. Every single transaction that happens in futures, including mine, these two contracts here now, are in the volume. Everybody is seeing exactly the same thing. When somebody dumps 100 short contracts on the mini ES, I see that volume. Yeah, everybody is seeing 32,000 contracts going through on the NAS on the last candle. Yeah, on Forex, all you are seeing here is what your broker has transacted. So if you're with a broker that's got light liquidity, you're going to get completely different volume figures to everybody else. So you can't use volume in Forex or in CFDs because CFDs are a contract for difference with your broker. There is no centralized exchange. So you can't use it in here. You can to a certain extent. I mean, if we look at this on 5-minute chart, yeah. So you can see here, all of these volumes are the same. 1, 2, 3, 4 volume bars, exactly the same. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 candles ago, yeah. If you look at what is actually happening in the market, we've had descending volume. So it's a totally different outlook, and then a massive spike. You don't see that. My broker, Robo Forex in this case, has got a completely different volume profile. So you can't use this. But there are things like CCI, which you can use. Not CCI. What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of something else. No, brain's gone. There are indicators you can use. Yeah, maybe it is CCI. CCI basically measures. It's kind of like a rate of change indicator, a little bit like the RSI, but much faster. You can kind of use this. A lot of people use this to give them an indication of when there is volume coming through in the market. But you know, it's not rocket science. I can tell there's volume coming through because you need volume to push price. So price action is always king. When you get a market reversal alert, yeah, it's telling you that there's been a high volume of buyers. I know that. I can see it in my candlesticks. So I don't need any volumes to tell me that is happening. Same as, you know, I keep saying about moving averages. Moving averages are no good because they're telling you what's happened, not what is going to happen. TDI, Traders Dynamic Index, is also something that's good for that. But TDI is just an RSI. TDI is based on the relative strength index. So why not use the relative strength index? Yeah, it's as good. The RSI settings that I use, the median 21 is equivalent to the TDI midline signal line, which is why I call my dashboard so this is my version, but it's called the RSI TDI dashboard because it's the same thing, RSI and TDI. It's all the same stuff. NAS is extended M5 and M15. No, I wouldn't look for longs, Bruno. Don't use RSI in futures and indices. I don't use RSI in indices at all. You can do. I mean, yes. I mean, everything that goes down will come up. But also, it can get embedded. Especially on low time frames. You'll see an embedded RSI. Yeah, got extended here on the RSI, look. We got extended here. That thing did not stop for an entire session. And then New York took over and took it higher as it was coming down. Yeah, RSI is not as good on indices because indices are driven by tangible objects. Something tangible. They're driven by stocks and pricing. Something that you can purchase. Forex is not driven by anything tangible. It's just a rate of exchange, which is highly manipulated up and down as transactions are happening from corporate customers in banks. Stocks are driven by something real. Yeah. Shopify has really good earnings. Their stock price will go up. Therefore, the NASDAQ will go up. So the strength of the move is less important because if you get 10 stocks in the NASDAQ, so 10% of the NASDAQ, for example, all release earnings on the same day and all earnings are positive, you're going to get a relatively strong move, aren't you? RSI. It's not going to come down. It's going to keep going up. So it's not as good. RSI is good from a daily perspective and higher time frame perspective. It shows you overbought and oversold levels. And overbought and oversold is a stock trading term because you are buying something tangible. There's no such thing as overbought and oversold in Forex because there's no object. Yeah, but stocks can get overbought and oversold. If you inflate the stock price beyond what the company valuation is, that stock price has to come down. So if there's too much buying, then obviously it will come down. With indices again, here you've got 100 different stocks. So if it gets extended, it doesn't mean necessarily it's going to come down because 2 or 3 stocks can have a massive impact. You'll find that the 80-20 rule applies to indices. 80% of the movement is done by 20% of the stocks. So the top 20 will move it. In the Dow, the top 10 stocks move the Dow the vast majority of the time. Although there's 30 stocks in this index, the top 10 will do 80% of the movement a lot of the time. So doesn't quite work the same in indices, not from my experience anyway. But a lot of people use the 7 on the daily. So the 7 is a very widely used RSI within stocks. But again, as you can see with indices, yeah, got extended. It didn't stop for what, a month? Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Indices are manufactured to inflate or deflate. Yeah, if we're in a bear market, they'll be manufactured to deflate, which is what we're potentially seeing happening at the moment. So try not to use indicators. What was that? Was that a 14? Can't remember which one it was. Yeah, it was 14, wasn't it? So that'll be the 21. Yeah. Hope that makes sense. It's complicated stuff. We are stalling out down the bottom on the Dow. Nas is attempting to push. The volumes here, obviously within any stock or index, are indicative of candles. Yeah, so obviously we've got a down candle, 3 down candles because we had negative volume. When we get an up candle, it changes color to green. Now, if that green volume candle is lower than the preceding one, you'll get an inside bar. Yeah. So for us to get above there, we've got to get volume equivalent to what we had from sellers, i.e. these sellers exiting their positions by buying and no additional sellers pushing in. So volume doesn't really tell you much either, because price action will always lead volume. But it is handy to know when we are hitting the doldrums and when you don't want to trade. It's difficult to trade on low volumes because you don't get movement. When the volume starts to pick up, movement starts to pick up. So volume is really used as an indicator for when you should or shouldn't be trading is a lot of what's used. People also use what's called cumulative delta, which is based on price movement and volume. You'll see quite a few traders use cumulative delta, and they're looking for divergence on cumulative delta. So when you see the cumulative delta going up, i.e. lots and lots of buyers entering the market, and you see price coming down, that is delta divergence. And you'll tend to see that price will come down when you get divergence. But the delta divergence typically only happens once or twice in a session. So it only gives you a couple of opportunities. But if you use full-size contracts with delta divergence, you only need to trade twice a day and you can clear up, basically. It's worth looking into delta divergence. But if you want to use delta divergence in NinjaTrader, you need to get their professional package because you don't get volume data. You don't get volume profile, which is what delta divergence works off of. So I don't use it. Thanks. I applied the knowledge I got from you for the first time today and it was a profit. Excellent. Always good. That's what our brain's there for, to be picked. NAS is just, we're still in an inside bar on the NAS at the moment. This is called a 3 inside bar setup. Next negative candle should be the start of the next bear move, if we get one. So looking for a close down, basically. That will usually trigger a selling frenzy. And we'll start the next leg. So just think push, pull back, push, market structure. This is a candle, 2 candles inside, or 3 candles inside. Start to move down, starts the second leg. If it breaks and invalidates that high, that's bullish. And then we could potentially see a leg forming to the upside until we get to an area of accumulation where we started selling. And then the sellers there should add to their positions and try and push price back down again. Basically, it's the battle between the bulls and the bears. Which is all these zones are that you see on my chart are just literally they're propulsion candles. And all they're doing is telling me when there's been an accumulation and a break. So the one we saw, the pop, is where we accumulated at the open and then started our move. So everybody that sold short here, including me, when we get back up into here, we'll be looking to add shorts into their positions, which will drive price back down again. If we get there. But that's what you're seeing at the moment is absorption. All the buyers are trying to push price higher, and all the sellers that started this move, like me, are in here going, nah, we want to go short. Not letting you through. And eventually the sellers will give up, or the buyers will give up, and the sellers will just pop again. That's the theory. Just going to take these off because they're screwing my chart up. Can't see the price action. I know where I want to go. So this is basically what the sellers will be doing at the moment. So as we're seeing buyers coming in, if we want to remain short for the day, we need to defend this zone. So stick limit orders in. And as soon as a buyer comes in, I take one of those contracts away. If there's enough of us, we carry on going. At the moment, we've got a triple top forming. So I'm just going to bracket this area basically. So if this is as far as the buyers can get before we push down for the next leg, I want to make sure that when we pop, I'm going to get in. If they do manage to push up to these lows, I'll try and add another one in there. Either way, I've got these contracts covered. So if I do get into this one and then it pops through, that's going to get me out of the position. There we go. I just got into another one on that drop there. Still got 4 minutes left on this candle though. Some buyers coming through on the Dow. Okay, so just tried to break that high. Got rejected again. And you see how we're trying really hard to push. So there's a lot of buyers trying to get price higher, but just being stomped on constantly at the moment, which is an accumulation. One of these guys is going to win. We're either going to pop that way or we're going to start a next leg. Just going to give this a little bit more breathing room. Okay, 1 minute left on this candle. Still haven't broken the highs on the NAS. Sellers are starting to step in. Bearish engulfing forming. Next candle potentially is going to be the next push down below that leg. Although very, very slowly at the moment. Nice indecision. Spinning top. Equilibrium on price. Equal buyers, equal sellers. Here comes the second leg starting. Potentially. Need to break 44.27. US dollar is just having a little bit of a pullback at the minute. Still no directional bias on this. Got a very nice big opening range on the US dollar, but no direction yet. So this is the Asian lows. So all we've done literally is in London is just accumulate at the lows and push back up. So it's a bullish sign, but no direction as yet. We're going to wait until FOMC. Highly likely we're just going to see an accumulation throughout the day until we get to FOMC this evening, and then they'll probably move it from there. DAX is struggling at the lows as well. There's not a lot of selling pressure coming through in either of these at the minute. What should I do with this? I'm just going to cover this. It's not really going anywhere. I'm just a bit worried that all we're going to do is accumulate for the rest of the day. We'll get some movement, but I'm just a bit worried we're not going to get a lot of movement, and all we're going to do is kind of sit there and waiting for FOMC. And if that's going to be the case, we're going to get one of those choppy sessions which just chop you to bits. So I don't want to give back what I've got this morning. At the moment, I'm sitting on 1350-ish. I kind of want to see it move faster than that. This leg isn't. Oh, here we go. Dow's starting. Maybe we're going to start now. I just usually want to see this happening faster. Want these down legs to, kick in, but we're not at the moment. Again, I went and bought a load of paint today, so maybe we should watch paint dry. It always seems to be the one that you're on, doesn't it? If I was trading the Dow, I'd be happy as Larry now. Because I'm not trading the Dow, we're stuck. Here we go. So there's the low gone. So next leg starting now. So when you get to these levels, you just want to be a bit careful of a fake out. So we can get a W formation at the low and then break back up again. Obviously, that's just a rejection of the lows. So there's a lot of absorption there. A lot of buyers were stepping in at these lows, not wanting to go lower. Good rejection there. Same on the Dow. Yeah, just covering the position basically. Ordinarily, I'd probably bank this where we are, but again, I've got 1270 banked, so I'm happy to hold this just to see if the move does play out. But at the moment, it looks bullish. Lots of rejection down here. So that 5-minute candle, so like 1 minute before that candle finished, we got rejected. Buyers stepped in. So we need to break and hold below these lows to confirm that we're going down to the next leg. And the next leg obviously will take us down to 4,400 or thereabouts. Potentially 4,410. Okay, I'm just going to lock this in there. So these highs and that low is my kind of line in the sand. If we break above that level, I would say we're probably going to get a deeper pullback. So I'll just close the position out there and take it. Doesn't look like the NAS wants to go anywhere. We're 30 minutes inside bar here, so we've got not going anywhere. The S&P and the NAS typically will move in tandem together. So if the NAS is going to push up and retest those highs, the S&P is probably going to retest these highs as well. Just don't really want to sit here and wait for it all day. Did the contractor get by here? Doesn't sound like it. Yeah, no, we've had all the banging and hammering this morning, Chris. There you go. I'm out of that flat. Yeah, no, I was waiting for builders to come this morning. And they did turn up just after the live room finished this morning. So, but all the banging and hammering has finished. So they're rendering basically the back of the house. So it's all now the quiet rendering noise and the odd tap every now and again. This morning there was a lot of banging. So that's just basically taken me out exactly in that gap there. So we are rejecting, putting in an inside bar at the minute, but I just don't want to sit here all day. It's too slow. So nice bullish rejection on the US dollar. So again, same thing plays out. Got a gap formed, a strong buying pressure. Sellers test it, sellers test it, sellers test it, sellers test it, buyers reject. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Sells, buyers try to break through, sellers step in, push them back down. So these zones basically just bull and bear areas where there's been strong price action in one direction, where you will tend to get sold into and bought from, which is why they get retested all the time. So whenever you see one hold, typically you will aim for either a double bottom, or you will aim for another zone if there is one. So if there was a accumulation here, for example, and a push, which created a zone, that would be where the next stop would typically get bought from. But it all depends whether there's enough sellers to push through. So at the moment, there's not a lot happening anywhere, is there? So FOMC basically, this is typical London and New York session ahead of FOMC, 7 o'clock. So we're just seeing accumulation. So what the market will do is it will sit there and build a position. So if you look at it from a higher perspective, London, we've had a tight range where we've just sat there and we've chopped everybody to pieces and accumulated a position, either long or short. We've passed over to New York, who are continuing to accumulate that position. Highly unlikely will break out of the London range until 7 o'clock. And then when FOMC happens, depending on whether they've built their book long or short, they will move the market. Yeah. So just think of it like in a cinema. Yeah, you're on the cinema gates and you're taking everybody's money as they come into the cinema. Yeah, when you got enough money, you start the film. Fill the auditorium, basically. And they will decide which way they're going to go, regardless of what happens in FOMC. If they've built a book long and they're going to make millions by going long, they'll go long. If they've built a book short, they're going to make millions going short, they'll go short. This is the probably the best example I've seen of accumulation and distribution for quite a while. So this is Monday last week. Accumulation. Yeah. Regardless of what you did on Monday, whether you went long or you went short. Yeah. If you went short, they took out your liquidity and then pulled it back inside. So everyone went, looks like we're going short. So they all put their stops up there. They carried on accumulating and then they pulled it down short and then accumulated a bit more and then accumulated very, very tightly and then came up, took everybody's money there because they had an accumulated position long. When they got out of their long position and banked all their cash, they took the market the other way and took everybody else's positions that had gone long, including the guys that entered on the breakout there. All their stops went under there. So they came back down and took all their money and then they went long. And everybody that went long out the back of that has got their stops under here. So FOMC, it would be a hell of a push, but FOMC could bring it back down to there. More than likely, that is where we would head for FOMC, because everybody that saw this move to the upside and pullback entered long there, stop went under there. Everybody that entered on the W and saw the propulsion move, stops under there. Everybody that played the breakout long, stops under there. Under there is sitting a hell of a lot of cash. So they're fading it back down, ready to grab that and run. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating for FOMC. But equally, they may well have more than enough money accumulated for a long already, and they're just going to grab some more and go. We'll see. But should get something, hopefully, because we've had a nice accumulation today, so should get a move later. But nothing else is happening at the moment, so no ADRs, no RSIs, dead as a doornail. So I think I'll call it a day there. 5.46. I thought that was 6% a minute ago. I've got the A running on my other machine. Right. Sorry, I just need to... I'll turn that off in a minute. I've got the EA running on my other machine, testing. I just heard that tester signal go off and I was like, what was that? I've got it running live as well on my account. I didn't realise I've got it running with a 0.25% risk. So I'm going to turn that off in a minute because the market's consolidating and all that's going to do is get churned up. So I'm going to call it a day there. There's nothing happening. We've been sideways for 30 minutes on the NAS. Dow, pretty much the same thing. S&P, as you can see, we are just pulling back up into here. Quite possibly we're going to get that happening, but there's not really a lot of movement. So I'm going to call it a day until FOMC. I'm not going to trade FOMC this evening. I'll be doing other things, but if you are going to trade it, good luck. And just bear in mind what I just said as a likely move this afternoon. If this afternoon in New York, we get down here, yeah. So the other option is today we get down here in New York, or down to ADR today. That liquidity is run before FOMC. We could well just go straight out the gates on FOMC. So just keep an eye on what happens today, and at 7 o'clock this evening, obviously see where we are and see how close we are to this level. because this is where everybody's money is sitting right now. It's tempting, very tempting. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. We got crude at 330. We just had crude come out. To see if anything's happened to the CAD. No news on crude. So the crude inventories have just come out negative 1.1 million, expected to be negative 2.2. So it's actually not too bad. So yeah, no movement on that. So yeah, I'll call it a day there. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:30. Hopefully you do well on FOMC this evening, and hopefully that will give us some movement that is going to get some of these RSIs extended, because at the moment we've got no signals anywhere at all. So hopefully we'll get some movement off of FOMC, which will get us some potentially extended conditions so that we can get into stuff. Can extend H1M5 pairs to 28. You can if you want to. That's very dangerous though, because you're going to overexpose yourself. Yeah. Just watch your exposure. So I'm in US. EA's taking trades for me. Look. What's that taking? Yeah. I don't know what I've got the EA set up to do, but it's hemorrhaging me cash, so I've got to go onto my other machine and sort that out in a minute. It's trading price action, basically. Yeah, so if you add exposure, if you add all 28 pairs, you're going to completely overexpose yourself. Yeah. So if you stick the EA with the same strategy on all three of those, yeah, and they all take along on the US dollar with whatever risk you've got, and then the US dollar tanks, you are going to be exposed 3 times short on the US dollar. Yeah. So you should really try and limit your exposure. So if you're going to run the EA, as I do, I limit my exposure. Let me just open my VPS. My profit's disappearing. It's 1.5% I just lost. Hey, the fun of live testing. So yeah, I limit myself to a certain number of pairs. Yeah. So I run these at the moment. Yeah. So I'm never massively exposed on one currency. So at the moment I'm trading the Swiss yen. So there's only one yen pair there. So when I get into a yen pair, I'm only getting into one. There's only one Swiss franc. So I cannot overexpose myself on the Swiss franc or the yen, because I'm just trading that. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Yeah. I'm also trading Euro New Zealand and Aussie New Zealand. So I've got 3 exposures on the New Zealand dollar there. So the maximum I can have exposure on the New Zealand dollar is 3 of them. The Aussie dollar, I've got 1 Aussie dollar on there, and I've got 1 Aussie dollar there, 1 Aussie dollar there. So there's 3 exposures on the Aussie dollar. Yeah, so I can't be overexposed on the Aussie dollar by more than that. If you put it on all 28 pairs, yeah, what you're going to find is that you will get exposed 1, 2, 3, 4 times on the Aussie dollar there. And you will also be exposed on the Aussie dollar, on the Euro odd. Those 4. And that's it, isn't it? So you would be exposed 5 times on the Aussie dollar in total. Yeah. So by keeping it to 2, I cover it in the bootcamp. I call it the 2 currency rule. Yeah. So ideally, you do not want to be exposed on any one currency more than twice. So if you go long US dollar CAD, yeah, long, you are long US dollar, short Canadian dollar. If you then go long on US dollar Swiss, you are long US dollar, short Swiss. That's it. You cannot take another US dollar trade. If it's the best US dollar trade in the world, yeah, if pound US dollar sets up and it looks like the best trade you've ever seen in your life, you do not take it, because you have got exposure already on the US dollar. Yeah. Aussie dollar CAD. You suddenly see an amazing setup on the Aussie dollar CAD. Okay, so you want to go long Aussie dollar, short CAD, no problem. But now you've got 2 Canadian dollars. You cannot take another Canadian dollar trade. Yeah, 2 currency rule, I call it. It stops you overexposing yourself. Because if the Canadian dollar suddenly shoots through the roof because there's oil news or something, you're only going to be exposed twice on it. If you're exposed 4 times on it, you've got 4 times the drawdown instead of twice the drawdown. Some people will only trade one currency. Yeah, so if they go long on US dollar CAD, they won't trade any more US dollar, won't trade any more CAD. And that's a good rule. The more you limit yourself, the less drawdown you get. The less drawdown you get, the less risk you have. But as you get more used to position trading sort of mentality, you will find you want to open yourself up a little bit more. But you can trade all if you wanted to. Trade all 28 pairs, but half your risk. So if your normal risk with the EA, for example, is that you get in with a quarter of a percent risk per trade using ADR, and your ADR is set to half for your risk. If you want to get in with more pairs, make that 0.13. Yes, you can halve that and add more pairs. So your risk is still then going to be very, very similar. But then you're exposing yourself to length of squeeze. So if it pushes up against you and then comes back down and gets you out, no problem. If it pushes against you and goes into a squeeze for 2 weeks because there's some fundamental shift, what you're going to be doing is adding into those positions 4 times. So your squeeze gets more painful. But I would say keep yourself limited to the 2 currency rule for the first 2-3 months. When you've seen yourself accumulating money for 2 or 3 months on the trot, yeah, and you get confident, add more pairs. But be prepared to do aggressive drawdown control if you need to. Also, the other thing you can do is with RSI, for example. So if you're getting into positions on RSI extensions, obviously as we do, instead of using the 70 level, use the 75 or the 80. So go onto every single pair, but make sure that your RSI levels that you're setting are not 68.32. Sorry, in that case, it's not 68.32 anyway. Why did that jump then? There we are. It's 70.30 because we're using the 4 hour. Don't use 70.30, use 75.25. So if you get into more pairs, require them to be more extended before you get into your initial position. And what that will mean is you'll go into less drawdown before you get the pullback, which gets you out of your position. There's always options. There's lots of options. Which is why I don't give anything particularly rigid with the EA set files, and I don't give anything particularly rigid in the course, because you will all have different, everybody's got a different risk tolerance. If you're risk averse, you set your RSIs higher, therefore you get in later, and you'll get into less drawdown. So if you got in there, you only had to go 2 positions before you exited. If you got in here on a 68, you'd have got into 3 positions before you exited. Yeah. So the lower the RSI, the faster the entry. The higher the RSI, the later the entry, but the more trades you'll miss. Yeah. So you would have possibly missed that move because you had it set at 75 and it didn't trigger. But if you had it set at 70, you'd have made a profit there. But if you had it set at 70 and it had gone like that, you would have gone into a squeeze for a week. You know, it swings and roundabouts. There's no right or wrong. It's kind of personal preference. So hopefully that answers your question. Oh my God. We got an ADR. Ah, look, just take another trade. How much money am I hemorrhaging here? 5%. I think I just made a profit, didn't I? Yes. I think this is set up to take. I compiled it, didn't I? So this is basically taking bullish and bearish engulfings, long wicks, and strong close candle signals, and it's auto trading them for me, and it's also scaling in every 50 points. So actually, it could do quite nicely, but we'll see. So we just had an ADR hit. I've got a trailing stop running, and that's why I'm hemorrhaging bits, because I've got a trailing stop running. It's trailing me down. You see this will start to trail. It's a nice little trade. So that's coming down quite nicely at the moment. So that next move we were looking for. Yeah. Just got a nice rejection in there. Now, as we still haven't broken the highs. Dow, we're starting to push. So yeah, we just got an ADR on pound CAD, first one of the day. Just getting a rejection wick putting in on M5 up at 100% ADR. That's off the back of the Canadian dollar. Oil, we just had oil, which affects the CAD. So the CAD has obviously just had a bit of a weak run. So pound CAD's had a bit of a spike. The pound looks like it's having a bit of a push as well at the same time. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:30, ahead of the US dollar unemployment claims tomorrow. Be aware of Aussie dollar overnight. We got the unemployment rate to worry about. We've got FOMC obviously this evening, so keep your eyes peeled on those. Hopefully you have a good afternoon. I'm done for the day basically, and I'm going to go and stop that EA trading because I haven't got 100% confidence in exactly what I've set it up to do, because it's in test mode. So obviously I have to test on the live account when I'm developing new EAs, and that's what that's doing. So I will let you go. Anything you need, let me know in the Telegram group. There's a link coming up to that in a minute. And if you like the stream, give me a thumbs up. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 8:30, and we'll have a look at the London session. And then same thing tomorrow afternoon. We'll do a bit more futures for the New York Open. All right, so have a good afternoon, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning.